Retail, Powerco Mr. Ian Lamb. Then will be Powerco's Business Systems Manager Kevin Best, and then we'll call on the Minister of Energy, General Max Bradford. Just before we start, a couple of housekeeping matters. Could I ask those of you, and I'm sure that it's 1998 now and everyone's got a cell phone, to turn them off out of a matter of courtesy for the presenters and your fellow guests. At the end of the presentations there will be time for general questions of a general nature about the products that we're about to launch. I would invite the media, if they have specific questions, we'll allow time that they can have one-on-one with any of the 4 presenters involved, rather than going over general ground. At the conclusion of the general question time, I invite you to join Powerco for a light luncheon to your right through the smoke-free lounge. Regarding the blacked-out windows, it's not an attempt by Simon Moutter to introduce the mushroom theory, keep you in the dark and feed doses of manure. It's in fact an attempt by Taranaki people to stop Auckland and Wellington guests being dazzled by the sunlight shining off that large thing over there. So thanks very much for coming. I now call on Mr. Simon Moutter, Chief Executive of Powerco Limited.
The Powerco initiative, which we consider to be one of the more important in the company's history and which we believe will have an impact well beyond the geographic areas we currently serve. I would like to thank the Minister of Energy, the Honourable Max Bradford, for attending this morning's launch and for agreeing to speak to us later in the program. We are similarly pleased to welcome Australian guests Steve Harris from Powerco Australia Limited and Tony Hill from Coles Myer to share today in the unveiling of a local initiative that demonstrates that fresh thinking and the entrepreneurial spirit are alive and well in New Zealand's smaller provincial centres. And I'd like to think that the presence of so many local and national media at today's event is an indication of the importance with which the subjects we'll be discussing are regarded by those following the energy story in New Zealand. Taranaki is the energy province, recognised for energy exploration and production. Today, we will be unveiling another step forward, that is the use of specialised technology which will place energy management and ultimately supplier choice in the hands of the energy customer. But before I call on Powerco staff members to demonstrate the systems, I believe it is important to put the products into context in terms of where the company and the industry is headed. The first round of energy reform has delivered real choice for large energy users, but has not yet enabled smaller businesses and residential customers to share in the benefits of a more competitive and dynamic wholesale electricity market. Powerco's response was to identify and turn into reality a system which will provide a cost-effective solution. We saw that technology would be the key to delivering real-time price signalling and choice of providers to smaller businesses and residential customers, and we focused our efforts accordingly. Those efforts have today borne fruit in the form of a technology which enables small consumers of electricity and gas to better manage their energy use and in the not too distant future choose their energy supplier. While this latter function, to select a supplier other than the local line operator, is technically possible now through the systems we're about to show you, that ability will only be fully realised on a national basis if the wider industry can develop a new low-cost settlement system. Unfortunately, this won't be easy. If it was, it would have already been done. Nevertheless, Powerco shares the government's view that if such a low-cost settlement can be devised, it should come sooner rather than later. We're ready to go. In that regard, the government's April 7th announcement on further changes to the industry has set in motion another wave of change which will have profound financial and operating consequences for energy companies and the whole energy sector. Some companies won't survive in the new competitive retailing environment. Powerco intends to not only survive, but to prosper. In recent years, we have built from our regional base as the local suppliers in New Plymouth and Wanganui to become a significant player on the regional and national scene. At the same time, we have dramatically improved the service we offer our present customers, while also growing our off-network trading against fierce competition from the large incumbents in the metropolitan centres to the north and the south. More than a quarter of the energy we now sell is delivered across networks owned by other power companies. We have not allowed this push for growth to distract us from the important drive for cost effectiveness, and Powerco now has some of the lowest cost structures in the country. And lower costs have not been achieved at the price of lower security of supply for our customers. And we have made major investments in network upgrades and maintenance management programs to ensure Powerco's customers aren't left in the dark. The company has also recently enhanced its customer contracts and service guarantees to give even greater clarity to the joint responsibilities of supplier and customer. However, even with all these runs on the board, the government still wants energy companies to quicken the pace of change. While Powerco does not agree with the government's recent announcement that there is to be a full legislative ownership separation of line and energy retailing activities, it does support most other parts of the reform package, including enhanced information disclosure, tighter line business accounting rules, and lower cost competitive trading and settlement systems if they can be devised. We could also live with a corporate separation of line and energy activities on a standard commercial model along the lines of that recently agreed between the Commerce Commission and South Power. That aside, Powerco accepts that the desire for open competition and the technology to provide real, cost-effective choice for all customers are fundamental issues that need to be addressed. Our focus on enabling transparent flow of information between customers and company is a key plank in our longer-term strategy of adding value and ensuring the prosperous future I spoke of earlier. One certainty in the uncharted waters that lie ahead is that competition for customers will become even more intense. The technology we are launching today will make Powerco an especially attractive partner in the new energy retailing environment. It will also position the company in the box seat of an exciting future in electronic delivery of higher value energy supply services and low-cost bill payment systems. On that note, I would like to conclude my part of the program by acknowledging and thanking our research and development partner, ECNZ, and our other valued partners in this venture, Comnet, CIC Systems, Telecom, and Research International. I would also like to publicly acknowledge two of our own people who have played a key role in the design and patenting of some of the innovative technology, Kevin Best and Robin Pitwood. Kevin will shortly demonstrate the new HomePower and Energy Centre electronic energy management systems, but first I'd like to call on Powerco's Retail Group Manager, Ian Lamb. Ian has been the driver of the entire project from conception to delivery, and he will begin the demonstration by taking you through the concept behind the product. Ian.
Thank you, Simon. I want to actually start with a quote from the great US filmmaker Samuel Goldwyn, who once described the perfect movie plot by saying this: "All we want is a story that starts with an earthquake and then works its way up to a climax." Well, we're confident today that the energy management system that we're going to show and demonstrate to you will register on the Richter scale. And as for the climax, we've asked the Honourable Minister to make a special announcement on our behalf at the end of today's proceedings. So what's so earth-shattering? Simply this: Time of use pricing to the mass market at a low cost. What does this deliver? It delivers to the mass market access to the wholesale market and to the spot market. So if the South Island hydros are spilling and there's a substantial reduction in price, we can package those prices up and pass them on to those that go onto our system. Just as simple as that. So now I want to back up a wee bit and just outline the process of how we ended up here today. We went to the marketplace. In the marketplace we identified with those consumers, both small businesses and residential, that were interested in energy management. So we looked at that group. And that group gave us over 40 requirements it needed in a system if they were going to see of any value. Now I'll just pick out a couple. The first one, they said many of our customers are both gas and electricity. And they said, look, we want one system that will manage both. You know what? There's not one system in New Zealand or worldwide that will deliver just that. Then they said, we want a system that will do that plus allow us to have the choice of either a prepayment option or a post-payment option. And there's no system in New Zealand or overseas that can do that until now. So how have we been able to do it? Well, simply, we have coupled world-proven technology with Powerco's own innovative, patented communication technology to deliver an energy management system for the residential and small commercial market. The telecommunication market that we're using is the telecom pager network. Now it reaches over 90% of the total New Zealand market. So what's so unique about what we've developed? Here's just a few. We can do both pre and post payment, remote programming of the system, gas, electricity and yes, water will be available. Bulk discounts, real-time pricing, access to the wholesale market, and a wide range of flexible tariff or pricing options. So what are we going to call our particular products? The residential product we've named HomePower. Power has nothing to do with energy, it's to do with empowerment, because that's what the market wants. It wants the ability to be able to control and manage its energy use. The commercial product is named Power Moutter. So let's summarise just some of the key advantages from a market perspective. It gives us and the marketplace greater ability to segment geographically, north, south, east, west, up a particular road, up a particular street. A particular group of businesses New Zealand-wide can get together, whatever. We can look at a business type, like dairy farmers, and they can be right throughout New Zealand, whether it's in Taranaki, Southland, Waikato or Northland, or groups or individuals. And you can sit there and think of how you could package groups up to take advantage of this type of product. I know that some of you are starting to think, what about the cost of the system? What about the benefits of the system? Well, the residential product will cost 49 cents a day, including GST. Now, on top of this, there will be the standard line charges that companies actually do have. And that's the only cost. What are the benefits of the system? Free installation. Energy consumption savings have been estimated between 5 and 15%. They get the automatic payment discount. That is an annual value of $44. On top of that, bulk discounts. Those that pay and buy an over $50 lots will get an additional free 3% energy with each purchase. Simply, we're passing on to the customers the savings we've made in transaction costs. And lastly, but not least, is the time of use pricing option. This will allow customers to look at the various rates during the day and shift types of appliances they may use, like dishwashing or cooking, into the lower time slots. Now I want to move on to the energy centre. Now the energy centre is the platform that's used for charging up the prepayment card. But that's going to be demonstrated by my colleague very soon. I'm going to give you a wee PowerPoint presentation and show you some of the future developments and options that we're looking for that centre. And this is where the mass market will be able to use the energy centre to look at changing or reviewing their suppliers. So let's click on the energy button. You click on it, and then behind it you'll have the range of energy suppliers, or they could be any other new entrant into that particular market. So you click it, and it'll have the range of services that are available from your favourite energy supplier. If you want to actually dominate or nominate that energy supplier as your future supplier, you simply click on the Change Supplier button, and that activates the process of consumers then changing from one supplier and so forth to another. But there is more. Let's just go back to that original screen. Just see what was down the bottom. Tickets. The energy centre gives receipts. Therefore, we can issue tickets. So what kind of tickets can we start to look at? Maybe airline tickets, rugby tickets, movie tickets, or a whole host of other types of tickets. So let's just recap. I believe that the future is much closer than we think. And just to recap on the total presentation or issues that we see for both the energy centre and HomePower is this. HomePower is the future in energy management and will be a national brand because of the innovation that we've been able to cutely put together into a single package. HomePower will be launched in the Powerco area first before we actually move outside our area. But now I'd like to call on my colleague, Mr. Kevin Best, who will now do a practical demonstration of the system as it will go to the marketplace. Kevin.
As everyone's mentioned, we've got two platforms that we're here to show you today. The first one being the HomePower, which is this little device over here that people will see in their homes. The second one being the energy centre. I'll make a start on the energy centre. One thing I would like to stress, even though Simon and Ian have both said how sophisticated these systems are, as you'll see from the demonstration today, they're presented to the marketplace simply. Now these energy centres, if anyone's familiar with Powerco's region, we're quite geographically spread. The luxury with these machines is that we can spread them out throughout our region. We're actually going to be rolling out with 9 units to begin with, 3 up in New Plymouth, 2 down in the Whanganui region, 1 out in Hara, Whitehurst, Stratford and Partia. Now we can spread these, as I say, to anywhere that we want to. They're all controlled from a central office. These are just our hands in the field basically. I'll run through the equipment that you'll find on the machine. Up here we've got the prepayment HomePower slot. This is where a prepayment customer will charge their card, and I'll run through one of those in a few moments. To make the purchase, the customer can use cash through a note reader down here. This will read New Zealand $10, $20 and $50 notes, as well as vouchers. And if you think about a voucher and the way that we buy energy, that opens up a lot of opportunities straight away, just how we can sell it. Down below we have an FPOS pin pad, which will accept FPOS, credit cards, and there is in fact a future slot here for a smart card. In the centre of the machine, as Ian mentioned, the machine gives a ticket or a receipt. Receipts are printed out through here. Any transaction that's carried out on the machine, a receipt is issued. Over here we've put on a barcode scanner, just like you're used to seeing in a petrol station or supermarket. This is what we'll use to read invoices that are presented as one of the services that are on offer. I'll run through one of those in a minute. And as with most of us, if we do have to make a mistake, down below is the roach code. I'll run through a bill payment to show everybody what's involved. Everything is driven from this touch screen on the front that you see here. Now, just for demonstration purposes, I've had that amplified up behind me to make it a bit easier for you. So I'll step through just by touching the screen.
Welcome to the Energy Centre. Please touch the service that you require from the selections shown.
In this case, we'll select the bill payment.
Please touch which invoice you wish to pay.
I have your Plymouth District Council rate amount here, which we'll pay.
Please wave the barcode on your invoice in front of the scanner and wait for the acceptance beep. Are these details for the invoice you've scanned correct?
Yep.
How would you like to make this payment? Cash or EFTPOS?
In this case, we'll pay by EFTPOS.
Do you want to pay the full amount of this invoice? Press the green tick for yes, or the red cross to select another amount.
We'll pay the full amount this time.
Please swipe your EFTPOS card through the reader below. Make sure you swipe your card the correct way round as the picture shows. Use the blue buttons from the keypad below to select the account from which you want to make the payment. Now type in your PIN number on the keypad below and then press the green OK button. Please wait while I process your EFTPOS transaction. Your EFTPOS transaction was accepted. Please wait a moment while I complete the transaction and print a receipt. Thanks for your payment. Don't forget to take your receipt. Goodbye.
And that is a bill payment. And that's the same process regardless of which of the actual service providers we choose to pay. Now the other side of the Energy Centre as it's going to be rolled out is the HomePower service. Again, I can step through it from the screen, or in fact the HomePower will actually be identified from the card being inserted.
Please wait a moment while I get your HomePower account information. Are these details for your HomePower card correct? Press the green tick for yes, or the red cross for no. I see that you have recently purchased power on this card. Have you swiped it through your HomePower display since this last purchase? Press the green tick for yes, or the red cross for no.
It's just a warning in case I haven't actually taken the credit off the card.
How would you like to make this payment? Cash or EFTPOS?
In this case, we'll choose to go with cash.
If you purchase the amount shown or greater, an additional free credit will be added to your card. Press the green arrow to continue. Please insert a $10, $20 or $50 note in the slot on your right. Your note is accepted. Please put in more money or press the green arrow to finish.
I'm out, unless anyone else wants to.
Please wait a moment. Please wait while I credit your power purchase to your HomePower card and print a receipt. Congratulations. We have credited your HomePower card with an additional credit. Press the green arrow to continue. Thanks for your purchase. Don't forget to take your cards and receipt. Goodbye.
And that's all there was to it. Now, when it's a frequent user, you don't actually have to wait for the voice every time. You can interrupt at any time and speed up the process. And if there are any issues or anybody still needs a little bit of help to use the machine, we are just a phone call away. I'll show you now the actual HomePower systems that we've got over here. This one that I've charged up is for the HomePower Prepayment, which is this little device over here. Again, I've got a unit over on this little display that we've amplified up onto the large screen, and this one's running in post-payment mode. Now these little devices, as you can see by this one over here, are the customer display that can be put anywhere in the home. Typically this will be at the customer's request and tends to be in the kitchen or the hallway, somewhere that's highly visible in a high traffic area. The little LCD screen that you see up there has a default screen, and in the post-payment model, this is the month to date or a running total of how much you're using for that month. All of the information that's contained within the unit is addressed by this little switch, little button down here. You scroll through the screens as you'll see, There are actually about 60 screens worth of information that could be made available to customers. Now you'll see from the demonstration that I'll show today, there are certain screens that have the highest customer value. They're the ones that the customers will be presented with. You can also see from here that we can have 3 meters connected to the system. Like Simon and Ian have mentioned, the system will handle gas, electricity, water, basically anything that can be metered can be fed into the unit. This means in this instance we've got 3 connected. We've got a general rate for electricity, a water heating rate and a gas rate. Now I'll step through some of those. This one here would have been, if we'd have been using this hall for a month or so, would have shown us what we used last month. And these are the current rates. If you think of the power that you get now, the actual tariff or the pricing that you're on, this is the rate per kilowatt hour that you charge. And where Ian's talked about the real-time pricing, real-time price signals, when they become available, we can send them out to the customer's home. This is where they'll appear. You'll actually see the rate that you're being charged. So when those benefits are available from the hydro, that'll be passed through to here and you'll see it on here. And that's the same for any of the meter inputs that we've got. Now using that innovation that Simon and Ian have talked about, we obviously have the ability to send information out to here. We can actually send just straight text information. If there is information that's pertinent to a customer, we can send it out to them. And as Ian mentioned, that can be customer groups, it can be individual customers, or it could be every customer that's connected to the system. I've got a couple on here that we've been using, just to let you see what's available. We could notify people when that email's arrived. You don't have to dial in and find out, have I got a new email? We can organise it so the internet service provider could demonstrate to you that there's an email in your inbox. Maybe that we just want to give you a lot of results. And it only gives results, it doesn't forecast. Some of the other energy management information that's available, we have here current usage. This is the actual dollars per hour that we're using at any one time. This is the amount that will actually change as you turn things on and off in the home. And for the purposes of the demonstration, I've simulated some appliances that we could turn on and off in the home so that I can show you this being used. On meter 1, which is the general electricity, if I was to turn on the lights and a heater, and we'll turn on the fridge as well, the unit will actually sample and tell us what that increase is in dollars per hour. I'll turn on the gas for the electric hob as well. And we'll see that amount go up. And that will fluctuate, and that is a very handy way for people to actually identify what loads use dollar values, real dollar values in the home. And as I mentioned earlier, that is available for all 3 of the meter inputs. You can actually scroll through and see them. And that's available in dollars, or if people want to see that in actual kilowatt ratings, they can as well. And again, that will fluctuate as kilowatts are turned on and off within the home. And again, for all 3 of the actual inputs. The other display that we're making available is the dollars used yesterday, and as you can probably guess, we've done a fair bit of testing in the last day or so. Hence the fact that we have a few dollars up there. Now they're the main screens that we're going to be showing to people. That actually covers what I want to show you on the system. One thing I would like to add at the end of this is that due to that innovation, anything that you've seen on here, the settings, the configuration, the text, they are all remotely programmable. And as Ian's mentioned, using the network that we're using, that's anywhere in New Zealand. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. As you can see, Kevin really loves the machine. In fact, that's the first time I've seen him stop poking notes in the machine. But payday's tomorrow, Kevin. You can come back up and keep going. I really want to, can we get some lights here, Rich?
Yeah, you've got them switched to the bottom light, okay? Check the overhead.
I just want to really recap, just going over the unique issues and so forth to this system. They are, we can deliver now both pre and post payment. We can not only do gas and electricity, we can do water as well. The remote programming allows us to target anywhere in New Zealand that is covered by the Telecom pager network. We have, hang on, we've got a message. What if it's the minister? Probably not. Hydro special, price reduction. Was 12 cents a kilowatt hour, now 3 cents. And that's as simple as how it can come up. Just to carry on, obviously, real-time price signalling, access to the wholesale market, and a wide range and flexible range of pricing options. And now I'd like to call on the Honourable Minister, Max Bradford, to give a short address and to announce the climax to the ideal movie plot.
Thank you very much, Ian, for that welcome, and may I recognise Mr. Ian Lobb, the Deputy Chairman of Powerco, Mr. Simon Moutter, the Chief Executive of Powerco, the Directors and Trustees of the company and the trusts that own Powerco, members of the audience and, of course, the media. Well, I must say it's a delight to be here today because this is the first occasion that I've had to, since we announced the reform package on April the 7th, to really see some part of the reforms in action. Now some of you will say that, well look, this was all happening before the reform process began, and there is some truth in that. But the reality is that for nearly 10 years now, governments, successive governments and the industry itself has been grappling with the need to make structural changes in the electricity sector so that we can see the benefits, the full benefits of competition. Simon very succinctly, I think, put the case that faced me when I became Minister of Energy. And that was that there was a certain class of consumers, the large industrial consumers, who were getting the benefit, some benefit, from the early stages of the reform. But the group that missed out were the household consumers, the small commercial consumers, small businesses, on which we depend for a great deal of our economic activity, the little people, shall we say, in the industry. And frankly, the two major components or occasions when reforms were put in place didn't really address both the needs of those customers, those smaller customers, and most importantly the fact that they deserved a better deal than they had been getting out of the old system. So it's really been over the course of the last 12 months or so that the government has faced up to the need to finish the reform process that was begun in 1987, to really grapple with some very difficult issues, not just technologically or economically, but politically as well. And the culmination of that work was, of course, on April the 7th. We think we must have got it about right, because we ended up by upsetting everybody in the industry. The major generator, the state-owned generator, ECNZ, of course didn't want to see any split of its business to get more competition at the generation end, and fought for a government-owned organisation, a vigorous, very public campaign that didn't work. We decided that there were significant gains to be made in terms of increased efficiency and the potential for lower wholesale prices in the generation end of the market, which could be released by a further break-up into competing units of ECNZ. That part of the reform was overwhelmingly welcomed by the retail industry. the ESANS members and the power companies. However, it was equally clear to us when we began the reform process last year that we weren't going to get the full benefits from splitting EC&Z to those small consumers by leaving things as they were at the retail end. And that really led us to something which you are all aware of now, and that is a formal set of proposals, firstly to require much greater information disclosure, particularly from the natural monopoly, the lines businesses at the retail end, and also to formally separate the natural monopoly and the competitive parts of the electricity companies. That part of the reforms was overwhelmingly welcomed by EC&Z, but it wasn't by the power companies. And what that possibly demonstrates quite clearly is that maybe we have got it right, that both ends of the industry warmly welcomed the changes at the other end, but didn't welcome it at their end. And it certainly is true that the process that we have gone through to look at the totality of the reforms, to look at the best way of getting the benefits to consumers, was to address both ends of the industry. And in that respect, I'd like to recognise my former Member of Parliament colleague John Armstrong in the audience today, because John was instrumental in the second stage of reforms, and I suspect, John, you wanted to see some of the things that we've done a few years ago. I have to say, as Minister of Energy, I hope this will be the last time that the government gets involved in a reform package in the electricity sector. We believe that we have addressed the structural issues in the industry to ensure that there are sufficient competing units, competing companies, both at the generation and supply end of the market, to address the very real problem of a monopoly component in the industry. It will always be a monopoly component, both with respect to Transpower and the lines business, and to ensure that those components are all free to compete on a level playing field, both for customers and for customers. And I have to say it's a particular delight to be here today to help Simon and his team, to help Powerco celebrate what is the future. This is the future in the electricity sector, a future which will give the benefits to small consumers that they have long deserved. And I must say, Simon, I'm delighted to see some of the figures that you're talking about in terms of potential savings for consumers. They are very significant. A year ago, I was being told by many in the industry that there was no money made at all in the electricity sector for power companies. Yet here we are, we're talking about anything between $50 and $300 or $400 in savings at the retail end of the industry alone. There will also be very significant reductions in the wholesale costs of producing energy from the split up of EC&Z, which will in turn ultimately flow through to consumers with the competition that we can see here enabled by the technology that is being launched today. I must say the vision that I've seen for the industry for well over a year now is precisely the sort of technology that Ian and his team have been developing for, I imagine, for some considerable time now. We have some other structural things to do, both at governmental and industry level, probably the most important of which is to ensure that the metering technology that is devised has a common standard of interface with the very necessary settlement system that will be needed between the various competing companies in the industry. That's well on the way. It's an integral part of the reforms that we have announced as well, and will very much depend on the cooperation of the competing companies in the industry to set those standards, to get the settlement system in place, which is after all nothing more than a bank bank clearing system, settlement of financial transactions between companies. The cooperation will be needed there to allow the competition to flower. So it's with a great deal of, I must say, pleasure to be here today to help you celebrate something which justly should be launched in the provinces of New Zealand. It just goes to show that there is innovation and motivation in our provinces. Certainly there is a far better security of supply of electricity than there is in other parts of the country, and for that you are to be congratulated. But I must say, Simon, I congratulate you. I hear what you say about that component of the reforms that you don't like, but I just ask you and your colleagues in the industry to look beyond the particular problem that you might have with a part of the reforms and look at the reform package as a whole. They're designed to help you compete for and service your consumers. And if we can all accept that as the primary reason for the reforms, then it is surely is far better for all of us to get on with them, put them in place, and make them work for the benefit of all consumers. So it's with a great deal of pleasure again I say that I'm here today to help you celebrate this, and the climax to the earthquake that Ian mentioned is something which I understand will be a world first. You don't just get this from spot, you get the dollar weekend for electricity from Powerco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bradford. Are there any general questions from people in the audience? Yeah. Thank you for your patience and your attention.
Is there any officers interested in this system?
Ian, perhaps if you'd like to come forward and take that question.
Sorry?
Any overseas interest?
Yes, there is. Some of them are in the audience today that have been aware of developments. And this goes back to CIC and South Power's project last year with water, and they were exposed to that, and I've kept them up to date with other developments that we've been doing. It's not very often you find energy companies of like minds, but both South Power, CIC and Powerco have like minds, and that's probably a key issue.
You mentioned some figures of sorts of savings. Could you say the sort of cost per unit that you might get from the sort of off-peak use of electricity that you're talking about? You mentioned a figure of 13 cents a unit, which is quite common now. What sort of range that's based on?
Well, in our own time of use product that will be available in Powerco's area, the range is from, and I've got one of my colleagues here will correct it wrong, I think between 4 cents a kilowatt hour through to 22 cents a kilowatt hour. And that simply reflects our costs and us being able to put back the cost to the customers, either the benefits or what our costs and so forth are. So that's right range. In fact, we've got 8 different time slots during a 24-hour period.
So what would be the lowest retail rate you would charge then per kilowatt hour?
4 cents.
Is that plus line charges?
No, all this is excluding of line or the standard daily availability charge. The variable rate.
What sort of time would we have to use our appliances to get up to 4 cents an hour?
Well, one of the time spans that is quite low is between 12 o'clock and I think 4 o'clock in the afternoon during the day. And certainly the customers that we've been working with simply say that they will look to the gym. Doesn't guarantee you either going to lose weight or get fit, but at least says you've got a motivation to do so. So it needs changing in behaviour.
Could people end up spending at the top end of that spectrum, the 20 cents a unit that you mentioned?
Well, if they use their appliances during that time slot, they will. They will pay. Time of use rewards behaviour change. But remember, we have a whole lot of range of other tariff options as well. The customers can choose any of those as well.
Can I just ask, I mean, how many of your customers do you think will want to go for time of use? I would have thought most will still want a package.
Well, of the system outlined, about 15% of our market are interested in energy management systems. The time of use, we haven't tested specifically to quantify it. It's only been qualitative type of research, but indicatively it's quite strong, particularly in certain areas of the residential market. Those that are on very tight budgeting, they will change. And look, they just simply said that this is no magic. This is just like what telecom used to have during the day. Rates vary during the day. So that's the group that will I think, pick it up more quickly.
Is the gas industry also interested in persevering with energy management issues through the whole network?
Well, we are a gas company, so we are interested. Our customers are gas customers, and they are interested. Yes, they are. Because I said right at the start, this group wanted one system that did all their energy in their home, potentially, and water, because that's an energy type of issue as well. So yes, they do want gas. They don't want multiple products, they just want one. They want to manage gas, look at gas, see what it is, and so forth as well. Remember, some of the innovations that we haven't spoken about today, but we are looking at here, we can do remote diagnostics in appliances. We can do remote home security, home monitoring. By dialing in an access key, punching in a few PIN numbers, people remotely will be able to turn lights on, lights off, appliances on, appliances off. So it's quite sophisticated of where we're going to look to take the system and so forth. So if they want to have the stew cooked by the time they get home and so forth, they can dial in during the day and start the cooker and so forth going.
What about other parts of New Zealand? Are they making...
Our research in testing the concept was nationwide.
They're already installing those things in your area. What about other parts?
We're installing them in the Powerco area immediately, and after that we will look to go nationwide. Remember, we've got to be quite clear, the energy management system has a value anywhere. Whether you can sell them the electricity at the same time is irrelevant. Once that settlement process that Simon and the Minister talked about, then you have the opportunity to sell them the electricity as well. But the value is in the market being able to manage and monitor their energy consumption.
What's the timescale for that settlement process? I mean, how long is that going to take?
Oh,
Early next year.
Will we finish?
Sorry.
Will we settle? Will we finish the phase by then, early next year?
Well, that's the time frame that the NEPA just a month working on this 2 weeks.
We have worldwide patent rights on the technology. So those are our colleagues in Australia and in the US and so forth, where the rest is comment fair too.
Are there greater discounts if groups get together or it's an individual basis?
It depends how it's done. I mean, if they can get together and be able to have a easier way of doing billing and so forth, our issue is why not? As long as the system that we can develop to it, to a group, absolutely. That's where the future of energy management and the retail sector's got to look.
You say that obviously it's quite effective, but how cost effective is it compared with some of the other systems that are being developed or are already around?
Well, there's no system around They can do gas and electricity.
If you're an electricity supplier, you might be looking at an alternate system that generates electricity. Is there a cost advantage in adopting a system like this?
Well, the real cost advantage is the other systems can only do prepaid. They can only do electricity and they can only do prepayment. They can't give the degree of management information, energy management information, that this can. And remember, this is driven from the consumer market, from the marketplace, not production driven, saying to the consumers, this is what you'll get, this is what the market wants. So value has been placed on what the market wants. And I'm quite happy to go head to head with anybody that has a lighter product, because I know this can deliver market value to the customers, and that's the key.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to come up and have a look. Folks in private, the Energy Centre. You'll be having half an hour. And money, since you'll stay here till lunchtime. And come up and have a look at the various equipment and invite the media to talk to any of the speakers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to have a look at the equipment, feel free to go to the smoke-free lounge.
Make sure they don't turn them off. I'll just tell them to turn them back on.
in the